The title, The Limits of Remembrance, comes from an essay that came out in the edition of Harper's Magazine a year ago on September 11th's 10th anniversary. And that essay was called After 9/11 and subtitled The Limits of Remembrance. And the author dealt with the idea of the ramifications in the 10 years since in our population's emotions and psyche, and also spoke about the difference between the historical idea of an event and the remembrance of the event. There was a phrase in that essay that really struck me, which was, history is the antithesis of remembrance. And that is what sort of got the ball rolling, and eventually what became this piece. Think about events in our country's past. We have events like Pearl Harbor that, although they're a historical event, there's still a strong emotional reaction to many people. But other events that were just as intense at the time to the American public, for example, the famous Remember the Maine incident, now only exist as historic, now only exist as moments in our country's history. They don't have that same emotional impact. In all of my music, not just this piece, I'm very interested in make wide-ranging use of symbols, musical symbols. To me, even if they're not always apparent to a listener, I suppose you'd have to have background for it to really be apparent. It's a meaningful way to build a structure of a piece more than just telling a story. And I've incorporated at least 3 conscious passages that to me are symbolic of physical structures. There's a moment in the piece where the offstage brass quintets are playing this wash of sound, and that is, to me, a musical representation of the reflecting pools that are already finished and open to the public, and a very powerful memorial. They're in the footprints of the old Trade Center buildings. Right. There is several passages that make a reference, again, to me. I don't expect that to the casual listener, they'll immediately light upon this idea, to the graceful and beautiful new One World Trade Center that's not yet completed. And the final passage of the piece, the last 30 or so seconds, was actually the very first moment of music that occurred to me and that I wrote. And that is something that doesn't exist anymore, but I think most of us have seen at least the pictures of it, which were for some time after the events of 9/11. There were these beautiful towers of light that were cast up into the New York skyline. And if one was to look at my early sketches, you'll see I wrote a tower of light over that music. Those are exactly, it's a rising string pattern that moves from the middle register to the very high register with this sort of a cacophony of percussion sounds behind it. And that's exactly what I had in mind when I wrote that passage.